The first time I saw Jonah again, it felt like the world stopped breathing. 3 years vanished in an instant, and there he was, the man who disappeared after that night, now standing in front of me, adjusting his tie like nothing had ever happened. My throat tightened. I could barely breathe as he looked straight at me, his face calm, professional, unreadable. His eyes swept across the room, then landed on mine for a brief second, cold, distant, as if I were just another employee on his first day at the firm. Pretending not to remember. That's what hurt most. I had spent nights replaying that evening in my mind. The music, the rain, the way his fingers brushed against mine like a promise. Jonah and I met during my final semester at UCLA, two souls colliding when neither of us expected it. He was older, confident, and already successful, the kind of man who carried silence like a weapon. And yet, that night, beneath the flicker of streetlights, he was human, gentle, lost, vulnerable. Then he was gone. No message, no call, just gone. Now he was my boss. Mr. Carter, right? His voice was smooth, clipped. You'll be working directly with me on the Luminate account. My heart hammered against my ribs. Yes, sir. He nodded once, his eyes unreadable. Welcome to Andridge Consulting. That was it. No flicker of recognition, no hesitation. Just business. I stood frozen long after he left the room, staring at the space he'd occupied. Part of me wanted to believe he truly didn't remember me, but another part, the one that still remembered his hand in mine, the whisper of my name against my skin, knew better. Jonah remembered. He just didn't want to. The weeks that followed were torture. Jonah was everything a boss was supposed to be. Focused, demanding, precise. He never raised his voice, but the entire team seemed to orbit around his quiet authority. I admired him, hated him, wanted him, all at once. Sometimes I caught him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. His gaze would linger, heavy, before he turned away as if the sight of me burned him. One evening, we stayed late at the office, the city lights spilling through the tall windows. The others had gone home, leaving only the soft hum of computers and the faint sound of rain outside. You should call it a night, Jonah said, not looking up from his laptop. I'm almost done. He leaned back, crossing his arms. You've said that 3 times already. I looked up. You keeping track? A faint smile touched his lips, the first one I'd seen in weeks. Maybe. The air thickened. For a second, I could almost see the old Jonah, the one who'd smiled at me over coffee, who'd kissed me like he couldn't stop himself. But then he broke eye contact, shutting his laptop. Don't stay too late, Heath. He stood, grabbed his coat, and walked past me. I thought that was it, until his hand brushed against my shoulder, deliberate, almost lingering. And just like that, the past slammed into me. The warmth of his touch, the smell of his cologne, the night we almost said the words we both feared. I turned. Jonah. He paused but didn't look back. Good night, Heath. I told myself to let it go, to stop trying to resurrect something that was never meant to survive. But the more I tried to forget, the more the memories crept in. The way he'd laughed that night, the look in his eyes before he kissed me, the tremor in his hands when he whispered, I shouldn't feel this. He'd been engaged back then, to a woman. That was the part one tried hardest not to remember. And now, every day I had to face him, the man who'd once held my heart and then shattered it without a word. One afternoon, during a team meeting, Jonah's composure cracked for the first time. A client presentation had gone wrong, and tension filled the room. I was presenting slides when he suddenly interrupted. Heath, he said sharply, you missed the data from the 3rd quarter. I didn't, I replied, trying to stay calm. It's in the appendix. His jaw tightened. Then maybe you should have made it clearer. A beat of silence. Everyone stared. I felt my pulse race. Maybe you should actually look. Came out harsher than I meant. Jonah's eyes darkened. He dismissed the team with a clipped, we'll continue later. The room emptied quickly, leaving us alone. What the hell was that? he demanded the moment the door closed. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You challenged me in front of everyone, he shot back. You think that's professional? I took a step closer. Professional? You're pretending you don't even know me. That stopped him cold. His eyes flicked to mine, filled with something raw, unguarded. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I whispered. Because I remember everything, Jonah. The beach, the rain, the way you... Stop. His voice broke. For a long moment, we just stared at each other, breathing hard. The room felt too small, the air too heavy. His eyes searched mine, and for the first time I saw it, the crack in his armor. Heath, he said quietly, don't. But it was too late. I could see the truth written all over his face. He remembered. And he was terrified. That night I couldn't sleep. His voice haunted me, the way he said my name like it still meant something. I replayed the argument over and over until I couldn't tell what hurt more, his denial or my own foolish hope. When I got to work the next morning, Jonah wasn't there. His assistant said he'd taken a personal day. The office felt emptier without him, quieter somehow. By lunch, I'd convinced myself to let it go. Maybe he needed space. Maybe we both did. But as I walked out to grab coffee, I saw him, standing by the river, alone, coat collar turned up against the wind. I hesitated, then walked toward him. He didn't turn as I approached. You shouldn't be here. I could say the same to you. He sighed, his breath misting in the cold air. You deserve better than this, Heath. Better than what? The truth. He finally looked at me. His eyes were tired, almost sad. The truth ruins people. It also sets them free, I said. What are you so afraid of? He hesitated, and for a moment I thought he'd actually tell me. But then he shook his head. You don't understand. I understand more than you think. Something in my voice must have reached him, because his expression softened. The walls around him seemed to tremble, ready to collapse. Then he said quietly, that night, I never stopped thinking about it. My breath caught. I wanted to call you, he continued. Every day I wanted to, but I was engaged, and I thought if I just buried it deep enough, it would disappear. But it didn't, I whispered. No, his eyes glistened. It never did. The wind carried our silence. The city hummed around us, indifferent. Then why pretend? I asked. Why act like you don't know me? Because I'm your boss, he said. Because if I let myself feel this again, I won't stop. He turned away, but I grabbed his sleeve. Jonah. He froze. I don't care what you think is right, I said, my voice trembling. All I know is that I never stopped caring about you. He closed his eyes, pain etched across his face. For a second, I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he whispered, you have no idea how much I wish things were different. Then he walked away, leaving me standing there, the river wind biting at my skin, the echo of his words carved into my chest. I went home that night with a storm inside me. He remembered. He felt it too. But he still chose to walk away. That was the first time I realized. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about surviving the silence that follows. And yet, deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. I didn't see Jonah for 3 days. 3 days of empty meetings, cold coffee, and forced smiles. The office ran like clockwork, but I felt detached from everything. Like someone had turned the world down a few notches and I was moving through it underwater. On the 4th morning, he was back, dressed immaculate as always, a dark suit hugging his shoulders, calm expression betraying nothing. But his eyes, those damn eyes, were shadowed, like he hadn't slept. When he spoke to the team, he didn't look at me once. I told myself that was fine. I told myself I could handle being invisible. But every time he gave someone else a polite nod or a quiet good work, something inside me twisted. Around noon, he called me into his office. The door clicked shut behind me. Close the blinds, he said. I froze. What? His tone was even, but his eyes were sharp. Just do it. I turned, lowering the blinds one by one, shutting out the noise and light of the outside world until it was just us. The hum of the air conditioner and the sound of my heartbeat thudding in my chest. Jonah leaned against his desk, hands in his pockets. You've been distracted. I swallowed. You noticed. I notice everything, he said quietly. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The space between us felt alive, heavy with everything unsaid. He took a breath. I shouldn't have said those things by the river. My chest tightened. You mean the truth? He looked down. I meant the part where I made you believe there was still a chance. The words hit harder than I expected. There isn't. He shook his head. You deserve someone who can love you in the open, not in the shadows. Then stop hiding, I said, stepping closer. Stop pretending you're fine when you're not. He didn't move, didn't speak, but I saw it. The small tremor in his jaw, the pulse in his throat. You think I don't feel this? He said finally, voice trembling. Every time I see you, every time you walk into a room, it takes everything in me not to reach out. Then don't hold back. Heath. No. I interrupted, my voice breaking. You walked away once, and I let you. But I'm done letting fear decide everything. He stared at me like I'd said something dangerous. Then, slowly, he moved closer until I could feel the heat of him. His hand lifted, hesitated mid-air, then cupped the side of my face. For a second, I thought he'd pull away, but he didn't. His lips brushed mine, soft, fleeting, like a confession, and suddenly every piece of the last 3 years crashed back into place. The world outside vanished. There was only him, the taste of his breath, the warmth of his hand on my jaw. When he pulled back, his eyes were shining. I can't, he whispered. Yes, you can, I said. You already are. He stepped away, running a hand through his hair. You don't understand what's at stake. I don't care about your title, Jonah. I care about you. His voice broke. I could lose everything. Then let's lose it together. That made him laugh soft, broken. You make it sound so easy. It's not, I admitted. But hiding is harder. He looked at me for a long time. Then quietly he said, leave early today. Take a walk. Clear your head. It was a dismissal and we both knew it. But as I turned to go, he added, Heath, don't stop believing in me, even if I can't do this right now. I nodded, unable to speak. That evening, I walked along the river again, the same spot where we talked days ago. The city glowed on the water, lights flickering like fragments of something once whole. I thought about the way Jonah looked when he kissed me, how the walls around him cracked for a single heartbeat. There was love there, buried deep, smothered by guilt and fear. I just didn't know if love would be enough to save us. The next morning, a rumor swept through the office. Someone from corporate had filed a complaint. Anonymous, but serious. There was talk of an inappropriate relationship between Jonah and a subordinate. Whispers followed me everywhere I went. Eyes lingered. Jonah called an emergency meeting. His tone was calm, controlled, but I saw the tension in his hands. Afterward, he asked me to stay behind. He shut the door and exhaled. It's about us. My stomach dropped. Who knows? Someone saw us near the river. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Are we in trouble? Not yet, he said. But they'll investigate. HR might call you in. You'll deny it. I frowned. You want me to lie? It's the only way to protect you. What about you? He gave a small, hollow smile. I'll survive. No, Jonah. You don't get to take the fall alone. Heath, please. His voice cracked on my name. I can handle it. But if this becomes public, what? You'll lose your job? Your reputation? You think I care about that? He turned away, shoulders tight. You don't know what it's like to live your whole life building walls just so the world doesn't see who you really are. I stepped closer, my voice soft. Then let me help you take them down. He looked back at me, eyes glassy with emotion. You'll get hurt. Maybe. But at least I won't spend my life wondering what could have been. Jonah's control finally cracked. He pressed his palms against the desk, head bowed, breath shaky. When he spoke, it was barely a whisper. "You're not supposed to care this much." "I tried not to," I said. "Didn't work." We stood there, two men caught between duty and desire, silence stretching until it was unbearable. Finally, he straightened. "Go home, Heath. Let me deal with this." I wanted to argue, to reach for him, but something in his tone told me not to. I left the office, but the image of him, alone in that room fighting himself, stayed burned in my mind. That night, I got the email. Jonah Anderson suspended pending investigation. No signature, no explanation. Just like that, he was gone again. My chest hollowed out. The city outside my window blurred through tears I didn't bother to wipe away. He tried to protect me, and in doing so, he destroyed himself. I didn't sleep. By morning, I'd made a decision. If Jonah was willing to risk everything for me, then I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. Because love like this doesn't vanish. It waits. It survives. It demands to be seen. And for once, I was done hiding. The following morning, I arrived at the office before sunrise. The city was still half asleep, streets damp from last night's rain, glass towers reflecting the faint glow of dawn. My heart pounded in a steady, reckless rhythm. I didn't have a plan, just a truth I could no longer carry in silence. Jonah's office door was locked. The nameplate beside it gleamed cold under the fluorescent lights. Jonah Anderson, senior partner. It looked too final, too still, like a gravestone. By 8 o'clock, the rest of the team began trickling in, whispering about the suspension, about corporate politics. Nobody said my name, but they didn't have to. I could feel their stares, the way their voices dropped when I walked past. At 10, the HR manager called me in. Her tone was polite but distant. "We just need your account of recent events. Your relationship with Mr. Anderson. Strictly professional." I met her gaze. For a moment, I thought about lying like Jonah wanted. It would be so easy to say yes, to let him disappear again. But the words caught in my throat. "No," I said quietly. "It wasn't strictly professional." She blinked. "You're admitting to a personal relationship?" "Yes." My hands trembled, but my voice didn't. "But it wasn't what you think. He never coerced me, never crossed a line at work. He was careful. Too careful. Jonah Anderson is a good man." The HR manager's pen paused. "Do you understand the implications of what you're saying?" "I do," I said, "and I'm still saying it." When I left her office, I felt both lighter and terrified. The truth was out now, uncontrolled, irreversible. By noon, the news had spread. Whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into stares. Some people looked at me with pity, others with quiet admiration. But I didn't care. I just wanted to see him. I went to his apartment after work, the address I'd memorized long ago, though I'd never dared to use it. The doorman gave me a skeptical look but let me through when I said my name. The elevator ride felt endless. I could hear my own heartbeat echoing off the metal walls. When the door finally opened, Jonah looked undone. His tie was gone, shirt half unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up like he'd been pacing for hours. "Heath," he breathed, as if saying my name physically hurt. "You shouldn't be here." "Then tell me to leave," I said, stepping inside. He didn't. The silence stretched until it cracked. "I told HR the truth," I said. His eyes widened. "You what?" "I couldn't let you take all the blame." He laughed bitterly. "Do you have any idea what that means? They'll fire me, Heath. They'll drag you through this too." "I don't care." "Well, I do." His voice broke. He turned away, hands gripping the edge of the table like he needed to hold onto something solid. "You think love fixes everything, but it doesn't. It complicates, it destroys." "Then let it destroy me," I said softly, "because living without you already has." He froze, shoulders trembling. I moved closer, my voice low. "You keep running from this, from me, from yourself. But it's still there, Jonah. It never went away." He turned slowly. His eyes were glassy, red-rimmed. Why do you keep fighting for something that's only going to hurt you? Because it's real. Something in him broke. The distance between us vanished. He reached for me, pulling me in, his lips finding mine with desperation that tasted like years of silence. The kiss was fire and forgiveness all at once. Painful, reckless, right? When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. "I'm scared," he whispered. "I know. I've spent my whole life trying to be perfect. The successful executive, the fiancé, the man who never made mistakes. And then you showed up, and suddenly nothing else mattered. Maybe that's not a mistake," I said. "Maybe that's the first thing that's ever been real." He closed his eyes, his breath shaky. "What if I lose everything?" "Then you start over," I said. "With me." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly, like he was making peace with something deep inside himself. The following week was chaos. HR interviews, corporate investigations, whispers in hallways. Jonah turned in his resignation before they could decide his fate. When he told me, I felt my stomach drop. "You're quitting. I'm choosing to stop pretending," he said. His voice was calm, resolute. "They'll spin their story however they want, but at least this way it's my decision. And after that?" He smiled faintly. "After that, I think I'm going to figure out who I am without the mask." I wanted to cry and laugh all at once. "Do you even know how to take a vacation?" "I'm learning," he said, eyes softening. "Maybe you could teach me." I didn't hesitate. "Gladly." We left the city a week later. Just packed up and drove until skyscrapers turned to open sky and the air stopped tasting like exhaustion. We ended up on the coast, somewhere quiet where the sea met the cliffs and the world felt wide enough to start over. The first night, Jonah stood by the shore, the wind tugging at his hair, salt spray clinging to his lashes. He looked at peace in a way I'd never seen before. "You know," he said, "the night I disappeared after UCLA, I wasn't running from you. I was running from myself. I figured," I said softly. "I thought I could build a life that made sense. But it never did. It was all noise. You were the only thing that ever felt clear." He turned toward me then, the wind carrying his words like a vow. "I don't want to run anymore." I reached for his hand, our fingers lacing together. "Then don't." He smiled small, real. "You're fearless, you know that?" "I'm not," I said. "I'm just tired of pretending love has to look a certain way to be real." The waves crashed below us, steady and endless. Jonah squeezed my hand. "Then maybe this time," he said, "we start with honesty. No secrets. No fear. Deal." He leaned in, pressing his forehead to mine. The sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the sky in gold and fire. For the first time in years, neither of us felt like we had to hide. The world didn't fall apart. It just got quieter, simpler. And as the tide rose around our feet, I realized something. Love doesn't vanish when you lose it once. It waits. It returns. Teaches you who you really are. Jonah and I didn't know what the future would look like. Maybe it wouldn't be easy, maybe it wouldn't even last forever. But it would be ours, unhidden, unashamed, and finally honest. He looked at me, eyes reflecting the fading light. "So," he said softly, "what now?" "Now?" I smiled. "Now we live." And for the first time, he smiled back without fear. That night, as we lay listening to the waves through the open window, Jonah reached for my hand under the sheets. "You were right," he murmured. "The truth didn't ruin me." "No," I said. "It freed you." He turned his head, eyes half closed. "Freed us. And maybe that was how it was always supposed to be. Not a grand ending, but a quiet one. Two men finally brave enough to exist in the open, holding on to a love that had survived everything else." Outside, the wind carried the sea's song across the cliffs. And in the dark, with Jonah's hand in mine, I finally felt what peace was supposed to feel like. It didn't sound like silence. It sounded like coming home. 3 months later, I woke up to sunlight spilling through linen curtains and the smell of coffee drifting in from the kitchen. The house was small, a rented cottage near the cliffs, but it had windows that faced the ocean and a porch that creaked when the wind blew. Jonah said he liked the sound, said it reminded him that life wasn't meant to stand still. I lay there for a while, listening to the waves. It still amazed me how quickly everything had changed. From glass walls and corporate boardrooms to this. Quiet mornings, worn-out jeans, salt on our skin. Jonah hummed softly as he moved around the kitchen. I could tell by the way the floorboards groaned exactly where he was standing. When I joined him, he was leaning